Hi everyone, welcome to Path of Exile Currency Guide. Currencies in Path of Exile can be divided into two big groups, basic currency and encounter currency. You can get basic currencies in acts, maps, or anywhere randomly. Some basic currencies can be obtained by selling items to vendors. For instance, you'll get Orb of Transmutation and Orb of Alteration from selling magic or rare items to vendors. On the other hand, you can get encounter currencies from certain encounters. For example, essences are dropped by essence monsters you can randomly encounter during mapping. As you may have noticed, there are no golds in Path of Exile. So, for trading's convenience, a few currencies like Chaos Orb or Divine Orb are used among users. There are about 70 types of currencies you can sort in the Currency Stash tab. We know that quantity is quite overwhelming, but don't be scared. Interestingly, each of currency has its own unique function. In this video, we'll explain basic information on what each currency does and where to obtain them. It'll be a lot of information, so don't try to remember everything at once, because you can come back to this video anytime to see what currency does what with timestamps and descriptions. Let's start with basic currencies. Scrolls are placed at the bottom pyramid of basic currencies. Scroll of Wisdom identifies an item, and Portal Scroll creates a portal to town or to hideout. You'll be running out of scrolls in the beginning of the league, so don't forget to pick them up. Orb of Transmutation upgrades a normal item to a magic item. Orb of Alteration changes modifiers of a magic item randomly. If a magic item has one modifier, you can add one more by using Orb of Augmentation. And the Regal Orb upgrades a magic item to a rare item. On the other hand, there are orbs that can change a normal item to a rare item directly. Let me return this into normal items by removing all modifiers with Orb of Scouring. Orb of Alchemy upgrades a normal item to a rare item. Orb of Binding upgrades a normal item to a rare item with 4 linked sockets, so it is very useful in the beginning of the league. Orb of Binding can be also used on maps, so it is often used when Orb of Alchemy is not enough. Chaos Orb randomly changes modifiers of a rare item. Orb of Annulment randomly removes one modifier from an item. Exalted Orb adds one random modifier to a rare item. Divine Orb randomly changes numeric values of modifiers of an item. Chaos Orb and Divine Orb, they have very low drop rates. Especially Divine Orb is the key currency in Path of Exile, and it worth roughly 200 Chaos Orbs. Sacred Orb is dropped even more rarer than Divine Orb. It randomly changes figure of base defense of an armor, but it's not used a lot in the early league. Blessed Orb randomly changes the figure of implicit modifiers of an item. Foul Orb carves an item, and if you're lucky, the item gets an additional option. It can be used on a gem to increase maximum level and quality, and some corrupted gems gain Vile skills. When an item is corrupted, you won't be able to use most of currencies on it, so you should be very careful. Most of currencies introduced so far can be used on maps or strongboxes as well. Yep, the degree of freedom in the game is pretty high. Fracturing Orb fractures one random modifier on a rare item with at least 4 modifiers. Fractured modifier won't be changed or removed, so it is used a lot in crafting. Veiled Chaos Orb randomly changes modifiers of a rare item, including one veiled modifier. Besides orbs, there are eye cores and embers. Eye cores add the Eater of Worlds implicit modifier to an item, and embers add the Searing Exarch's implicit modifier to an item. In order to use eye cores and embers, item class is limited to a body armor, boots, gloves, or a helmet. And based on the item class, implicit mods differ. An item can have one mod from eye core and one mod from ember. In most cases, eye cores and embers are used to gain a specific mod. For instance, using an ember to boots can add movement speed, and crafters would spend embers until they get the exact mod. As you can guess, eye cores and embers are used a lot in crafting, and they are very important. These are currencies that can change sockets in an item. Jeweler's Orb changes the number of sockets. Orb of Fusing changes the links between sockets. and chromatic orbs changes the color of sockets. Naturally, chance to create and to link 5 or 6 sockets are very low. Maximum socket counts depends on the item level, and socket colors that isn't related to item's main attribute show up rarely, so you don't have to waste these orbs in the beginning of the league. Mirror of Kalandra is the final boss of all currencies, and it worths roughly 800 divine orbs. It has a very low drop rate, but it can be dropped anywhere by anyone. It means that you can get it in only 1 hour of playing. Unfortunately, Binu has never picked up a mirror from the ground during his 10 years of playing. Mirror of Kalandra creates a copy of an item, so naturally it is used to copy items worth more than a mirror. However, it cannot mirror unique or corrupted items. Orb of Chance upgrades a normal item to a random rarity. Ancient Orb changes a unique item to another of the same item class, so if you're lucky, you'll get Mage Blood by using it on a belt. Quality currencies improves the quality of items, and increased quality means improved signature stat of an item. Normally, quality can be increased up to 20%. Bows and melee weapons are affected a lot by their base stats, so quality is important to them. Quality currencies increase 5% quality on a normal item, 2% on a magic item, and 1% on a rare and a unique item. So for instance, you can increase quality of a map first, and then upgrade the rarity later to save currency. Blacksmith's whetstone improves the quality of a weapon. Armorer's scrap improves the quality of an armor. Glassblower's bubble improves the quality of a flask. Gemcutter's prism improves the quality of a gem. Cartographer's chisel improves the quality of a map. And there's Engineer's orb that improves the quality of a strongbox, which is forgotten by many people and sadly not used a lot. There are currencies that can modify maps specifically. Orb of Horizons change a map to another of the same tier. Harbinger's orb upgrades a map by 1 tier. With a small chance, you might get the Beachhead Harbinger map by using Harbinger's orb to a map tier 14 or above. In early league, the Beachhead can be sold roughly at 20 chaos. Enkindling orb as an enchantment to a utility flask, but flask won't be charged during its effect. Instilling orb as an enchantment to a utility flask that enables auto-use on certain conditions. You should note that these currencies can be applied only on utility flasks. Some currencies can return passive points. Orb of Regret refunds a passive skill point, and Orb of Unmaking refunds an Atlas passive skill point. There's a currency called Sextant. Sextant changes modifier of the Atlas map, and it plays a very important role in farming, so we'll bring a separate video on Sextant someday. Conveniently, some of basic currencies can be purchased from town vendors. For instance, you can get an Orb of Augmentation with 4 Orbs of Transmutation. Buying orbs are quite useful, so check out the town vendors for more. Encounter currencies can be obtained from specific encounters. Lifeforces can be used at the Horticrafting bench in the hideout. At the Horticrafting bench, you can reforge item modifiers, but you can also specify the type of the modifier. So Lifeforces are basically the cost of the modification. Lifeforces can be obtained from the Sacred Grove, and the Sacred Grove is randomly found on maps. Tainted currencies are similar to regular currencies, but they can only be used on corrupted items. Some tainted currencies work slightly different from regular currencies though. While regular chromatic orb changes color based on item's attribute, tainted chromatic orb would unpredictably change socket color, and thus it is often used to craft off-color items. Tainted Orb of Fusion randomly adds or removes 1 link to the latest linked socket, so it is often used to create 6 links. And these tainted currencies can be obtained from beyond monster encounters. Essences are used for crafting. An essence can upgrade a normal item to a rare item with 1 guaranteed modifier. When used on a rare item, an essence will randomly change modifiers besides that guaranteed mod. Because of what it can do, essences are used first when crafting high-tier items. Essences can be mostly obtained from essence monsters in maps or from Einhar's memory of crystal prisons. Fossils and resonators are used on rare items for crafting. There are 25 types of fossils, and they should be placed in a resonator to use. As for resonators, there are 4 types of them. Fossils, they don't guarantee a modifier like essences, but they can increase and decrease the chance for certain modifier groups. For instance, scorched fossil will result in an item with fire mods, but without cold mods. So using more fossils would be easier for crafting. But it's not easy for beginners to do so because prices of fossils and resonators are pretty high. They are now mostly used for crafting cluster jewels. Fossils and resonators can be mostly obtained from Delve. Oils are mostly used for enchantment on items. They can be used via Sister Cassia or as stash box. Enchantment using oils is called anointment, and only amulets, rings, blighted maps, and a few unique items can be anointed. Anointing an amulet activates one passive skill. Anointing a ring enhances towers in blight encounters. And anointing a blighted map increases rewards. Oils can be obtained from blight encounters and blighted maps mostly. Catalyst improves quality of a ring, an amulet, or a belt. Unlike weapons and armors, rings, amulets, belts, they do not have base stats. So there are 10 types of catalysts that can be used for 10 different modifier groups on the item. For example, Turbulent Catalyst can increase elemental damage modifiers up to 20%. Catalysts can be mostly obtained from metamorph encounters. And there are more currencies left still, but we'll stop here for now and move on to fragments. In Path of Exile, fragments are like ingredients for certain contents. You can add a fragment with a map to place specific encounters, or insert a fragment set to open a portal to the boss monster. Scarabs augment a map with a specific encounter or rewards. For example, Reliquary Scarab will increase chance to find unique items in the map, and Bestiary Scarab will add a beast encounter in the map. The Scarabs can be obtained from almost all encounters, so don't be afraid of using them as they give more rewards to you. There's something very important but somehow skipped by a lot of people due to the lack of tutorial. It is capturing the soul of the map's boss for the Pantheon. Before you enter a map, place a divine vessel with a map in the map device. After killing the map boss, you can find the soul of the boss is captured in the vessel. If you right-click to use it, your Pantheon would be enhanced. Your main Pantheon must be enhanced for endgame contents, so if you find a divine vessel on the ground, check out the Pantheon to see which boss you should capture. In order to proceed to the Eternal Labyrinth, you need a fragment called Offering to the Goddess. The offering can be upgraded into 3 different types of fragments, and using it will lead you to a stronger lab with new rewards. Offering to the Goddess can be obtained from trials during mapping or from other encounters. Boss fragments can be obtained from killing guardians of each boss and randomly from other encounters. Let's start with the sacrifice set. Placing one sacrifice fragment will open a portal to Vaal side area. You'll be able to get Vaal gems and corrupted items in here. Sometimes a boss would drop a 6-link item. If you activate the sacrifice set in the map device, it'll open a portal to Queen Atziri. Queen Atziri drops fragments of mortal set, and you can encounter Uber Atziri with them. Each of these fragment sets opens a portal to Sirus, the Elder, and the Shaper. The Elder and the Shaper drops these 4 fragments, and you can encounter Uber Elder and the Shaper with a complete set. Incandescent Invitation, Screaming Invitation, and the Maven's Reed open a portal to the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds, and the Maven each. To obtain these items, you need to do quite a lot of Atlas mapping. In a red map, you can activate one of these 3 options in the map device. From the left, these are progress to the Searing Exarch, the Maven, and the Eater of Worlds. So for instance, on the 28th run for the Searing Exarch, a map boss will drop Incandescent Invitation. Besides these, there are more types of fragments such as Ritual Vessel, Breachstones, or Timeless Emblems. They are used in the map device to open a portal with different encounters and events. Alright, that's it for today. Like we just saw, every currency has a function. So if you have a currency that you don't use, trade them for Chaos Orbs or Divine Orbs to build your character more. There will be more videos for beginners about map encounters and bosses briefly mentioned in this video. So please like and subscribe if you want to hear more. Thanks for watching. Bye!